I welcome you all in the MNT News Network. This is a special Sunday network program which we conduct for our NRIs persons who are Mulnivasis and living in abroad, which we conduct on every Sundays. So today we have the topic, very great topic. Cultural politics is a powerful tool to prepare the Bahujan society for Bahujan democracy. To elaborate this topic, we have a very eminent speaker, prominent speaker, Mool Nivasi Dr. Azaz Ahmad, who is Fulbright visiting scholar at Department of Philosophy, Columbia University, New York. So right now, I would like to welcome Mr. Mool Nivasi Dr. Azaz Ahmad. I welcome you, sir. Jai Bhim, Jai Mool Nivasi, sir.
Jai Bhim, Jai Namaste. How are you? Thank you
I'm
for
fine, sir.
having
How
me.
are you? Sir, so today's topic is cultural politics is a powerful tool to prepare the Bahujan society for Bahujan democracy. So kindly give us or throw some light on this topic so that our viewer can understand what are the benefits of this topic in today's life.
Mm. Yes, uh, as far as the movement for the empowerment and representation of different section of Bahujan society is concerned, there has been a predominant tendency that somehow if there is electoral politics, success in electoral politics, then the problems, concerns, and issues of the Bahujan society can be addressed and resolved. And now, while not denying that role of electoral politics, I would like to emphasize through these introductory remarks that cultural politics actually is the foundation on the basis of which any electoral politics is launched and then fought over and won. In the absence of cultural politics, even if a group of people have electoral success in electoral politics, that is not likely to translate into substantive gains, right? So that's why cultural politics is at the very heart of a movement for social justice, for enrichment of democracy, for expansion of the boundaries of liberty, equality, and fraternity. And that's why I think different dimensions of cultural politics need much more thorough scrutiny, much more intense debate and discussion than what we have had so far. And that's why I think your topic that you have chosen for today's discussion, cultural politics, as a powerful tool to prepare Bahujan society for Bahujan democracy, is a very important and very timely discussion.
Okay, sir. So I need some questions to ask from your side. So, sir, please tell us. Can you please elaborate to our viewers about the cultural politics? What it is? What cultural politics is?
Right, right. So, in terms of cultural politics, I will place establishment of educational institutions on top of the agenda. Um, the understanding that somehow when there is an electoral success in electoral politics, it will lead to better gains in terms of educational goods, that this community and society will have more educational opportunities. Now, if we are interested in cultural politics, then we cannot wait for electoral success. It's a very different kind of understanding whereby education, establishment of educational institutions, research centers, think tanks, cultural centers, cultural institutions, whether they are for art, literature, science, language, theater, cinema, etc., all these will encompass. The beginning is through establishment of institutions, and by their nature, they will have overwhelmingly educational concern, but all the dimensions of social, cultural, and human life that will be captured through cultural politics. So, my concern here is that overemphasis on electoral politics. That somehow we know that Manavar Kashiram's famous slogan that political power is the key,
Yes.
to is the key to success and
Great success.
empowerment of the Bahujan society, without denying the importance of electoral politics. Of course, it is there, and it is a very important tool, very important key to the empowerment of Bahujan society. But in the absence, complete absence of cultural society, placing all the hopes only on state institutions or state-led institutions, and hoping that state and government and government-led institutions alone will manage to empower different sections of the society, that will lead to a long-term defeat in material terms, both in non-electoral field as well as in electoral field. Now, in the absence of cultural politics, gains made through electoral politics can very easily be reversed. So you have a group of people, by fluke of, by sheer dent of their hard work and sincerity, or through some, say, peculiar political conditions, a group manages to come to political power, acquire political power through electoral democracy for a certain period of time, and manages to make some gains through the success in electoral politics. But if it is not backed by cultural politics, cultural institution of the community, then those gains can very easily be reversed. They will simply disappear. And we can have a look at the classical example is the success and then eventual failure of Bahujan Samaj Party in UP. For a short period of time, there was a huge success in electoral field, and there was power within the state apparatus. Certain measures were taken, certain through government and state. But as soon as political power was lost, everything has been reversed. It appears as if there never ever was a Bahujan society in political power, or certain segments of Bahujan society in political power, as if there was no BSP rule whereby different sections of Bahujan society were part of the ruling apparatus. So what is the cause? The cause primarily is that the focus and emphasis on cultural institutions, whereby educational institutions have the top priority. But educational institutions not only to make doctors and engineers. Here I'm talking in the wider context. It is not few medical colleges or few engineering colleges, establishment of education, engineering and medical colleges, or engineering and medical education. That's all. So cultural politics will then encompass whole range of institutions, all kinds of all kinds of educational institutions in every field of life, research centers, think tanks, theaters, halls of performances, community gathering, whereby different sections of the Bahujan society can come together and live their community experience, share the community experience, enrich it, discuss and debate it, imagine future possibilities, different alternative futures for the entire Bahujan society, so that Bahujan democracy in true sense of the term is established as per the principles laid down in the constitution: liberty, equality and fraternity. So the Bahujan democracy is possible only when we have in the Bahujan society a very strong foundation for cultural politics. That area. I would also not like to reduce to religion only, that cultural politics is about medical education and engineering education institutions, or it is only about religion. Culture is much wider phenomena than religion, and therefore all those different dimensions which go on to establish certain humanitarian, egalitarian, democratic norms and values in society. All those practices at the social level, at the level of society, that whole range of institutions, educational, cultural, performative arts, etc., they constitute cultural politics, and serious focus on developing cultural politics in all its comprehensive dimensions is need of the hour, which will first constitute the Bahujan society rather than these fragment sections that we have at the moment. And then a Bahujan democratic project, Bahujan democracy, will become possible.
Okay, sir. Very great information shared by you to our viewers, and I really You did the commendable job. You have just explained the topic and the message you are just trying to say, and you are very greatly explained the question and given the answer. I have one question from you, sir. Can you just explain this? How is this cultural politics a powerful tool to prepare the Bahujan society for Bahujan democracy? Thank you,
Right.
sir.
Yes. Well, so once we have strong cultural politics, which establishes humanitarian, egalitarian, democratic norms and values at the level of society, right? At the level of Bahujan society. I'm at the moment concerned with Bahujan society, not the Alphajan society, so-called Dvija
Brahman.
and Ashraf caste groups, so-called
Yeah.
upper caste groups.
We can
So
say
at the
Brahman
Bahujan,
Badiya. We are talking about Brahman Badiya. Only Bahujans.
Brahmin Savarna, Sayyad, Ashraf, yeah, so-called Dvija, twice born caste groups.
Yes, yes.
At that level, so it is at the level of Bahujan society that I'm first concerned, because I think, in my humble opinion, that even the freedom, liberation, and humanization of twice born caste, of the
Yeah.
Savarna Ashraf caste, is also possible only when we have a strong Bahujan society with a strong cultural component to it, and which leads to the Bahujan democracy. Different sections of the Alphajan, uh,
Yes, yes.
when compared to the Bahujan, we have the Alphajan twice born caste group, and they cut across the religions, Brahmin, Savarna, Sayyad, Ashraf, and of course different other groups. Uh, every group in our country has this caste hierarchy. So those so-called twice born, they are in minority, small numbers, 9-10%. They put
Yes, sir.
together, they are the Alphajan, and the Bahujan, which has SC, ST, OBC cutting across religious boundaries, will constitute some 85 to 90% population, which will be the Bahujan majority. So it's the Bahujan majority and the cultural politics of the Bahujan majority based on Phule, Ambedkar, Ansari, Periyar inheritance that we have, something that Alphajan lack, the egalitarian, humanitarian, democratic ethos that our ancestors, our forefathers from Phule, Ambedkar, Ansari, Periyar, that's how I try to capture it as a representative
Yes,
movement, Phule, Ambedkar, Ansari, Periyar. Through that movement, we have those, commitment to humanitarian, egalitarian, democratic norms and values. Members of the Albigen society, they do not have it. They lack it very seriously. There is either some kind of a caste supremacism, which is opposed to egalitarian or humanitarian democratic norms and values, or there is some kind of a theocratic supremacism, or there is some kind of a patriarchal supremacism, and they are ill-equipped. Members of Albigen society are ill-equipped to work out a constitutional democracy which can bring the best in every section of the society, both at the community level and the individual, because those norms and values that Albigen society champions, those norms are inherently inegalitarian, violent, patriarchal, casteist, and communal. So it is very important for the Bahujan society to develop a cultural politics through which different sections of the Bahujan society, and we have to start from the point that Bahujan society is not one unified whole. That point must be kept into mind, because the different sections have different histories, different experiences, different resources, etc. Cultural politics has the potential to bring different sections of the Bahujan society together, right? So once we have cultural politics, successful cultural politics, spaces, institutional spaces where different sections of the society, Bahujan society, come together, and some individuals from Albigen society may also join if they have the democratic commitment. The creation of spaces whereby we can have a dialogue, discussion, sharing of
yes,
experiences among different sections of the society on the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity, on humanitarian, egalitarian, democratic norms and values. That will create a more cohesive Bahujan society. And then, when Bahujan society enters into electoral politics, and then takes up the task of working, implementing, giving effect to the dreams and aspiration of the constitution, That's when we will have Bahujan democracy, right? And that's when the empowerment for the creation and establishment of Bahujan democracy will take place. And the interpretation, implementation of constitution, constitutional vision will also take place. That means that will also be a time when the members of Albanian society will also have their liberation and freedom. Right now, all you find that within the twice born Albanian society, there is all kind of caste supremacism, religious supremacism, patriarchal supremacism. So you have violence, you have fragmentation, you have misogyny, you have patriarchy, etc. And these people are very, at the psychological level, there is a pathological sickness. There is a pathological sickness in the so-called ruling, powerful Albanian society. But it's when the Bahujan society achieves a certain degree of empowerment, when the Bahujan norms and values, Bahujan humanitarian, egalitarian, democratic norms and values are established at the level of society through cultural politics. That ground is prepared, conditions are created for establishment of Bahujan democracy. And once Bahujan democracy is established, now that is an electoral process through which Bahujan members of the Bahujan society acquire the right and as well as the duty to work out, give effect to the dreams and aspirations of the constitution. That's when the dream of our Phule Ambedkarite Ansari Pariyar democratic project will be actually realized, right? So it is in that larger context that I'm talking about cultural politics as a tool, as a very powerful tool, which will prepare the Bahujan society for Bahujan democracy. And then once we have the Bahujan democracy, that is a gateway, a movement, a kind of a step towards giving effect to the actual dreams and aspirations which our constitutional democracy through our constitution seeks to achieve. No, we don't have constitutional democracy just for the heck of it, for the sake of it, for just to show to the world that we have a constitutional democracy. Yes. Our constitutional democracy has a certain object and purpose. It has certain dreams and aspirations. But those dreams and aspirations, sorry to say, so far have not been realized in the field of, especially in the field of culture. Yes, this Albanian power in the hands, electoral power, etc., and political power, as well as cultural power at the hands of this small minority of Albanian community has completely blocked any progress towards humanitarian, egalitarian, democratic society. And that's why we also have at the level of nation, our the whole project, national project, Indian national project, that also appears to be fractured from different points and very weak. Some you have, foreign geopolitical forces from east and west, both directions pushing us and trying to squeeze our whatever formal democracy that we have at the moment. So I think it is very, very important for us, for those who are committed to Bahujan democratic project, those who are committed to liberty, equality, fraternity through constitutional democracy, to work for the empowerment of Bahujan society through cultural politics. Take cultural politics as seriously and as urgently as electoral politics is taken. So in terms of in the field of electoral politics, you can find so many voices, so many concerns, so many aspirations, so many activists trying to establish this political party, that political party, become part of this political party. That at the level of electoral political politics, you have so many concerns, such a high degree of awareness and aspiration. But when it comes to cultural politics, somehow the understanding, in my view, very erroneous, wrongful understanding that it's only after we acquire political power that other measures will be taken. It doesn't work that way. Yes. No group of people first acquire power and then start taking action for the empowerment through cultural politics. It is a group of people becomes a state. State power is not a priori in a way that you don't, it's not required that you first get the state power, only then some action will be taken. Institutions are established at the society level uh, much before state power is taken or shifts towards a particular group. And so one has to start looking at itself. A group of people have to start looking at itself as the makers of the society, as the makers of the nation. Everything is to be done by us today. If we do not have common educational institutions, sufficient educational institutions, sufficient cultural institutions, training institutions, research centers, think tanks, we have to start working on it today. And then over a period of time, it will start bearing fruits. It will start bearing fruits that will feed into electoral political struggle and will finally lead to establishment of Bahujan democracy. But if we take a decision in our mind, a wrong decision, wrong conclusion, that we first need to have the state power, we must first capture state power, only then we will start taking our action. Well, I'm sorry to say that even if that gain is made somehow by combination of numbers here and there and through alliances, short-sighted alliances, opportunistic alliances, some kind of a power is taken, opportunism becomes then the governing norm. Whosoever manages to, give me, whosoever can give me a post in the government, I will join. Even if that group happens to be a fascist, anti-democratic, inegalitarian group or group of political party or political actors, then our norms and values, which are humanitarian, egalitarian, and democratic, they go for a toss. So one remains within part of the electoral formation, government formation, but continues to work for anti-democratic, anti-egalitarian, and sometimes outrightly fascist forces. That is because at the cultural level, the foundation is not strong, and the foundation is not has not been laid with as much urgency and as much seriousness as it should have been taken. And that's why I think cultural politics is extremely important. At this conjuncture, one must focus very sincerely on cultural politics of the Bahujan society, and then leave those who are interested in electoral politics. I'm not saying that let us stop all our electoral political work. That will go on simultaneously. There will always be a section of society and individuals and groups who will be very interested in electoral politics. It has its own charm, no doubt about it. But in terms of, say, proportion, say if we have got 100 rupees to spend, let me give you an example by way of illustration.
Yes,
we have got 100 rupees. You have got 100 rupees, $100 or 100 rupees. $100 will be a lot these days. So 100 rupees. And we are to spend it on our empowerment. So that this 100 rupees is meant for empowerment of the Bahujan society. All right. How much of it should be spent on electoral politics, and how much should it be spent on cultural politics? If a proportion is to be set out, I will say that only 10 rupees should be spent on electoral politics and 90 rupees should be spent on cultural politics. That is the proportion that we are looking at. That is the kind of importance that we have to give to cultural politics. Look at the cultural politics of our adversaries, the Albion society. Look at the kind of institutions that they have managed to establish outside of the governmental sector. Starting with Neera Shishu Mandir and Saraswati Shishu Mandir to madarsa, school level madarsa to mid level madarsa to Dayanand Saraswati, and then private education institutions to research centers to cultural performance theater centers to arts and music, etc., etc. You just look at it. Minority educational institutions, a whole range of cultural practices have been established by our adversaries, not in the state, through the state, or through the government, outside of it. And that is the foundation, that is the source from which they draw electoral power, political power. And compared to the institutions that, say, twice born Brahmin Savarna Sayyid Ashraf have established, Good or bad, I am not debating whether what is the output, how wrongful for how good it is for the largest Indian society. But in terms of gains for the Albion society and the source of power that they have for to conduct their electoral politics, then the nourishment that they draw from the cultural politics that they have managed to establish outside of the state apparatus. That
Yes.
basically, even though their numbers are very less, we're talking about 9 to 10%, even though the numbers are less, yet their electoral political power is extraordinary.
Yes, sir.
And I will attribute it to basically cultural politics that they have managed to establish. Of course, they have the resource advantage of resources, they have the historical accumulation, primitive accumulation of the capital, etc., something that most sections of the Bahujan society lack. But that cannot be an excuse to focus all our energies only on electoral politics. In terms of energy, we have at least our energies, no?
Yes, sir.
If we lack, say, money or financial or wealth, etc., financial resources, what we do not lack is energy. And that
Yes, sir.
energy, I'm saying the proportion of that energy, how much of it should be spent on electoral politics and how much of it should be spent on cultural politics. I would say 90% of our time, our energy, our mind, our space, our focus, our discussion on debate should be on cultural politics. Only 10%. That's what electoral politics deserves. 10% should go to electoral politics. 90% should go to cultural politics. Winning the cultural, preparing the cultural foundation for the Bahujan society will eventually lead to the Bahujan democracy, and electoral success will come. It will not even matter who is winning, whether we are inside the power, electoral power, or outside of the governmental power. That will not even matter much. A group of people whose norms and values are established at the societal level, they become the governing norms. Whether they are politically sitting on the table, seat of power or not, that does not matter. That becomes totally immaterial. What is important is that governing norms, the governing norms and values that govern the society, they are humanitarian, egalitarian, and democratic. And if our claim is that it is the Phule, Ambedkar, Ansari, Periyar tradition which historically has brought out these humane, egalitarian, democratic norms and values, then it is our duty. It is our duty to spend our energies on the Bahujan cultural project, and then later on establish Bahujan democracy. And through the dreams and aspiration of the constitution, we go on to achieve a much more humane, much more egalitarian, much more peaceful and prosperous, what is known as Prabuddha Bharat. That's the vocabulary, Prabuddha Bharat, enlightened India of the Buddha variety. That can be achieved only when our energies go mostly into winning the cultural battle, into establishing the cultural foundation, and that has a lot of institutional dimension to it. Our energies must go into it, and we should be able to then, in due course of time, establish Bahujan democracy and realize the dreams of our forefathers. Yes.
Great, sir. Great. You have explained this question very well. I hope the viewers have understood about the topic. Sir, since we have not so much time, but I need from your side, what will be the conclusive message from your side to our viewers? Kindly give it to sir.
In short and summary, if I have to say, I would again repeat that we must start focusing our energies. Whatever resources that we have, little, those resources must be mobilized. But first and foremost, our energies must be mobilized to establish cultural institutions, to establish cultural practices, which will become the foundation for the establishment of Bahujan democracy, rather than completely wasting of our time and energy only exclusively on electoral dimension.
Yes.
We have to acknowledge, understand that electoral dimension is only one small component of it, important, but a small component of it. Our energies, at least, our time, focus, discussion, debate, agenda must remain on cultural dimensions. and that is absolutely important for the establishment of Bahujan democracy.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving this very informative and very important information to our viewers. And I thank you from MNT News Network that you gave us your precious time to explain this topic. And now it's time to just end this meeting. And thank you so much. Jai Bhim, Jai Mulyansi, Jai Bharat, Jai Samvidhan, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Jai Bhim, Jai Samvidhan.